Fiorentina are one of Italy's most historic clubs. They're a team with European pedigree, they've won the Serie A title on a few different occasions, and despite limited success in this millennia, they have actually reached back-to-back Conference League finals now, losing last year, and this year they're going to be up against Olympiacos. But despite that success, on the domestic front there has been no title challenge in the last 25 years, not even a top 3 finish. Today though, we're going to try and turn the club around and make them not just the occasional European performer, but the best club in Italy. Now, we'll have 5 years as manager to try and deliver that success, but there is already a lot going for us at the club. We've got a nice stadium and a big fan base with great facilities, decent finances, and a nice reputation to go alongside it. And as mentioned, this is a club that have won trophies before. 2 Serie A titles, runners-up in the Champions League equivalent back in the 50s. They've also got a European Cup Winners' Cup win, and as mentioned, this year they are up against Olympiacos in the Conference League final yet again, and that's because they've actually got a pretty good squad already. In FM, their best player is Nicolas Gonzalez, a tricky Argentinian winger. 25-year-old Serbian fan favourite Nikola Milenkovic is a very good centre-back option. And whilst he is in the twilight years of his career, Giancomo Bonaventura is a fantastic central midfielder. And there is also some good young talent at the club as well. Fabiano Parisi is a promising young Italian defender. Recent signing Lucas Beltran has got a lot of promise up front, but the jewel in the crown is Michael Kayode, a 19-year-old right wing back with the potential to be the best in his position. Financially, we are starting off with £7 million in the transfer budget to spend, and if we have a look at the finances, there is a slight debt at the club, but nothing too extreme, with a nice healthy balance there. And with all of that taken into account, the board want a mid-table finish. We're actually predicted 8th place, so things are looking promising going into our first season, but we have got some money to spend to try and bring some transfers in, so I'm going to see what I can do in the first transfer window. And we didn't go too crazy in the first transfer window. I was pretty happy with the squad I had, but there was still a sale and there was still someone coming in. 18-year-old Fallo Cien has left to join Monza. He's gone for a fee of 500k. He's an academy product with decent potential, but I didn't really ever see him being a first-team player for us. One player that might turn out well for us though is 19-year-old Australian Alessandro Cesati, a promising young defender with a lot of potential and great ability straight away. We picked him up for £6 million from Parma in the second tier, where he's played a bit of football, having signed recently from Perth Glory. So I feel like there is a promising defender here. He's going to act as a backup for now, but hopefully down the line can cement himself in that first team. And here is what is currently considered our best 11. So let me quickly run you through some of the star names in this team. In goal, we have a 33-year-old named Teresiano. He's a goalkeeper that's been around the club for a few years now and is our surefire number 1. At right back, we have Dodo, a Brazilian 24-year-old. Of course, Michael Kayode will be challenging him for that position. Milenkovic we've seen, and we've got Luca Ranieri supposedly as our other best defender. At left back, we have Berardi, a 30-year-old Italian international. In midfield, we have Arthur on loan from Juventus, obviously played for Liverpool in recent years, with Bonaventura and Duncan in the middle as well. We've then got Gonzalez on the wing, fellow Argentinian Beltram up front, but then we have Christian Michael Kouame, an Ivorian on the left-hand side who wears the number 99 and looks like he could be a very good winger. Outside of that, we've got some great bench players too. How many of them will be here in a few years, I don't know. We actually rejected some big bids already for Milenkovic. There's a lot of interest in him from Saudi Arabia. We've managed to cling on to him. Now though, we're going to try and see how we do in our first season. After that, we can really kick on with our own transfers and try and make this team our own. And it was actually a pretty good first year, and in real life, whilst Fiorentina seemed to be the kings of the Conference League, we had the chance, if we could pick up a point on the last day of the season against Inter, to get into the Europa League for next season. We were at home and we got off to a bright start. In the 21st minute, Duncan found Sotil, who managed to tuck the ball into the corner thanks to the help of a deflection. Inter, though, are one of the best sides, not just in Italy, but in Football Manager in the world, really, and they got forward pretty soon after we scored and Arnautovic equalised. And it was level until the second half when Inter came forward, but a poor back pass from Arnautovic actually played through Beltram, who managed to round the goalkeeper and score a brilliant finish. But the lead was short-lived because only a few minutes later, Fratesi found the bottom corner. That was 2-2, but we did get the point we needed to qualify for the Europa League. And that capped off what I think was a very good first season for us. 70 points in the league, only 8 points away from eventual winners Juventus. Not the highest points total to ever win a title with. Inter were joint joint with them, but they did eventually get over the line. Roma and AC Milan were the other teams above us, but we managed to finish in 5th, just pipping out Torino to that 5th place spot. If we hadn't got the point at Inter, we would have been sat in 6th place with Conference League yet again. This year in the Conference League, we didn't do as well as the club have done in real life. We got knocked out in the round of 16 by Stade Rennes by only 1 goal in a 4-3 aggregate loss, and the Italian Super Cup, we actually made the final, but Inter Milan beat us 2-0 on the day, so thankfully we did get revenge towards the end of the season. So I think a Europa League finish is absolutely fantastic in our first season, and from here we can hopefully push on. We've got some great players to try and build around. This year, Nicolas Gonzalez was our best player. Ignore the guy at the top, he's out on loan somewhere. Christian Kouame was also good. Between them, they managed to chip in with 28 goals. Bonaventura got 14. If we try and find Beltran down here, he scored 18 in all comps. Whilst he didn't play amazing, he did manage to bag a lot of goals for us. We will be losing Arthur and Maxime Lopez at the end of their loan deals, but now we head into season 2 where we're going to really hone down in this squad, get rid of the deadwood, bring in some star men and try and put our own stamp on this Fiorentina side. And it was a huge transfer window in Season 2, but before I show you that, I'd just like to ask you guys to do me a huge favour. If you've watched any of these videos, you know what's coming. If you could scroll down, hit that like button. You can forget you ever did it, but it really helps me out here on the channel. It's free to do, so thank you to anybody who does that. And subscribe if you haven't already too. We're getting close now to 35k subs, and eventually that goal is going to be 50k. So any support towards that goal would be massive. And make sure you comment down below what rebuild you want to see next. Every rebuild is based on your suggestions, and the final thing is, if you want to support me as a creator, I have a Patreon linked in the description. Over there, yes, you can support me, but in return, you'll get access to all of the save files from every rebuild we've done from Season 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, so you can take over, either continue the rebuild once we're finished, or try and do a better job than I did with the save files. So thank you to anybody who can do that. Patreons really do help me, so thank you to all the guys who have supported me over there. But let's get back to the transfers. And I said it was a big transfer window. We have lost a huge core of our squad, and a lot of it wasn't even my own doing. A lot of these players just wanted to leave, which was really unfortunate. But firstly, we had Bonaventura leaving, which I don't think is the worst one. He is now quite old. We've got £1.9 million for him from Saudi Arabia, so we're going to take that and reinvest. Abdelhamid Sabri is a player that was out on loan last season at Al Faya, and they've now made that deal permanent for 2.1 mil. Now we get into the big sales though. We've lost one of our key centre-backs. Lucas Martinez Quarta has joined Al Qadsiya, again a team out in Saudi Arabia, 15 million quid. They obviously are lacking players out in Saudi because they've bought a ton of our talent this year. Next to go over there was Rolando Mandragora. You can already see our squad is getting gutted, but as soon as these players got offered from Saudi Arabia, they all wanted to go, and you can see why when they're being offered £625,000 a week. There's a lot of transfers in real life between Serie A and Saudi, and it looks like they've came back to Italy to try and poach more of the talent. He's gone for a fee of 15 million. It didn't stop there though. Sofian Amrabat came back from his loan at Manchester United and instantly made a £17.5 million move to Al Qadsiya. But the two sales I really didn't want to happen, two of our key players. Firstly, fan favourite Nikola Milenkovic has left the club to join Al Nassr for a fee of £32.5 million, rising to 34. It's a good fee, but he is an unreal centre-back. He's a legend at the club. Unfortunately, the fans were upset when he left, but it was him that wanted to go. He refused to stay. I set a price tag for him, and he went as soon as Al Nassr hit it, so good luck to him. We had to then reinvest that money on some new players. But the biggest sale, the man that I wanted to build around, Nicolas Gonzalez, have left the club. He's now valued at 200 million quid. He's a phenomenal right winger, but for us, he's left for a fee of 57 million, rising to 83, which I think is a great deal for him, to be honest. We signed him only a few seasons ago for 19 million pounds. He's played really well for us last year, but not 83 million pounds well, I would say. And he is 26, so he's in his prime. He wanted to go to Newcastle. He's getting bags of money. We got some money in return, so as unfortunate as it is to lose a player as good as this, I wanted him for the whole rebuild. We can at least reinvest that money, and we did. We bought a lot of talent into the club. We actually spent 70 million quid, which is a lot for Fiorentina, I admit, but when you see that we actually bought in all of that money just through Gonzalez alone, I think we have been pretty shrewd in the market. Renato Sanchez was the first incoming, 26 years of age. He was on loan at Roma last season and did okay, but he was transfer listed by PSG, so we've bought him in, and for 7 million, season, I think he's a pretty good pickup. Sepp van der Berg has also joined the club as a centre-back option. The Dutch 22-year-old has signed from Liverpool. He was on loan last season at Mainz and did quite well, so we paid £8.5 million for him, and hopefully he'll adapt well to Serie A. Milenkovic's replacement at centre-back though is going to be Ugo Ugbu, a 24-year-old Nigerian international who we signed from Slavia Prague out in the Czech Republic, where he's been phenomenal for them, and I think £9 million is a bargain for the player that we're seeing here. Another £9 million was spent on the German 25-year-old Jan-Nicolas Best. He is signed from Heidenheim after a great season for them for a pretty lowly club, so he's obviously shined above the rest of his teammates. Our scouts recommended him. If you don't know, we only sign players that our scouts recommend in these videos, and he, I think, is going to be a great option on that left wing. Bologna's Lewis Ferguson was our next addition. The 24-year-old Scotsman has been great in real life for the club. In game, he hasn't been as good, but we've paid £16 million for him because our scouts were raving about him, and he does come in as one of our best midfielders. He's kind of a replacement for Mandragora, and we've added some real talent to the midfield. We've gone and signed Alex Garcia, who in real life is now a Spanish international, 27 years of age, signing from Girona, who actually got relegated in the Football Manager world. In real life, they had a title challenge. That shows you just how good they did in real life. But yes, he was great for a team that got relegated. We paid £19.75 million for him, £20 million for a midfielder in his prime, and I think he really does upgrade our team. So that was our £70 million spent, and now if we take a look at our best 11, despite all of the outgoings, I think it is still looking pretty strong. We've still got the same goalkeeper, but Coyote is now our best right back. We've got Ugbu and Ranieri in the centre-back slots with Baragi as our left back. We've got Duncan, Ferguson and Sanchez. There's a quite new look midfield with Sotil on the right wing, Bracolo's out on loan, so don't worry about him, and Beltram up front. And if we now have a look, drum roll, we're predicted 7th place, 25-1 odds of winning the title, which is an increase on where we were last season, so I feel like we have moved this team in the right direction, despite those huge sales that we did have to suffer. We've still got some money in the bank, 56 million, but I'm trying to be quite realistic here. I don't want Fiorentina to spend even more money than I already have. I'm happy with the squad we've got, so we're now going to go into season 2, aiming to try and challenge again for, I'd say, a top 5 finish. With the players we've lost, if we can just hit Europe again, I'll be very happy with that. So let's see what we can do in season 2. And once again, we had a great season. I feel like we're definitely building in the right direction, and this year we managed to make the round of 16 in the Europa League. We faced off against Porto, and very early on, there was a goal through Jarko on the right-hand side, finding Baragi. He played the ball in, and Beltran tapped it into the back of the net. And with only 7 minutes on the clock, we went forward again, this time the ball finding Renato Sanchez, who hit a powerful shot past Diogo Costa in goal. Porto would then pull a goal back just after half-time, a very good finish from Mehdi, who didn't have much time to react. And we went on to win the game 2-1. Unfortunately, in the second leg, Porto would then knock us out, but I was very happy with the performance overall. We were competing with some of the best sides in Europe and not looking too out of place. And that was the case in the league table as well, where we finished in a very good 3rd position, 79 points, actually joint points with 2nd place Juventus, and only 4 points away from eventual winners AC Milan. We've had a huge jump in our points total this season. We've secured Champions League football for next year. The Italian Cup we can forget about, but it has been an unbelievable season for us. As you can see, we did start off pretty well, then we fell away a little bit in the middle, started losing and drawing. After that, it was a bit hit and miss, winning a few games every month, drawing some, losing some. But like I say, we did pretty well to make it into the Europa League round of 16, and I think overall this has been a very good season, particularly when you consider all the losses that we suffered in the transfer market. Now this year we've had some real stars, Jonathan Okone coming in, taking up those minutes that Nicolas Gonzalez was having, and proving that he deserved that spot all along with 10 goals and 10 assists for the Frenchman. We also had some great performances from Sotil, who I haven't really shown you yet, but he's a very good 25-year-old Italian playing off that left-hand side. Alex Garcia was brilliant in season 1, and Beltran managed to bag 30 goals, age 24. He now has interest in him from Real Madrid, so we'll be lucky if we can hang on to him. But there's been some great performers. Lewis Ferguson hitting 13 in his first season. We, of course, had Michael Coyote developing as well. He is now looking like a very good right-back and is wanting a new contract. He probably deserves it. But yes, it's been a great second year for us. Now though, we're heading into our 3rd season at the club, and we have a huge £84 million transfer budget. Most of that is left over from the previous season. So we're going to have some fun. We're going to bring some players in and try and make this team a cemented Champions League club. And then I think in season 4 or 5, we can start challenging for that title. And it's been a much quieter transfer window this time, but I feel like the business we've done has been much better. We've hardly lost any players, and we've brought in some key additions. The two sales to note that we did have though was Gino Infantino, the 22-year-old Argentinian, moving to Boca for 3.9 million. He originally joined us from Argentina, played 3 times, and we made like 1.5 times our money, so it's not the end of the world. But we have also lost Luca Ranieri, who's had plenty of minutes at centre-back in the last few years, but he wanted a new challenge. In came Saudi Arabia, as you might expect, £6.25 million for him, so we needed a new centre-back. And we decided to upgrade, signing Strahinja Pavlovic, the Serbian 43 capped international, 24 years of age. We lost Nikola Milenkovic, he was a fan favourite Serbian. Now we're hoping to have another one here. He signed from Salzburg for 20 million quid. He looks like a phenomenal young talent, and I think for him, in a few years as he hits his prime, he could be one of Serie A's best defenders. Our old goalkeeper, whose name has gone out of my head, did retire this season, so we've got a new one coming in. This is Matej Kovar, formerly of Manchester United, the Czech Republic's international goalkeeper, aged 25. He went to Bayer Leverkusen, played a couple times, and then moved away to Stuttgart, where he was very good last season, caught the eyes of our scouts, and we've paid £11 million for him, which I think is not too bad for a goalie of his level, aged 25. 2 signings to go. One was Tommy Doyle on a free contract. The 23-year-old Englishman has signed from Manchester City. Plenty of English players have headed to Serie A in recent years. Tomori, Chris Smalling, Tammy Abraham, probably a few more that I forgot, and done quite well. Now Tommy Doyle is hoping to be the next one. Man City let him go, and I think it's a mistake by them because he is a very good midfield option. And we've also bought in Francesco Pio Esposito, an Italian 20-year-old striker with a lot of promise. We had some money left over, so I went for him. 9.5 million for the man that was on loan at Spezia in season 1, then came back to Inter. We've signed him and loaned him to Udinese. He's getting a loan in Serie A. We'll see how he can do there, and if he performs well enough, he can come in and compete with Beltram for that starting spot. And suddenly, within a few seasons, this Fiorentina team that we've taken over has become a beast of a side, with Kovar in goal, Kayode Ugbu, Pavlovic and Parisi as a very good back four, and a lot of those are young players too. Alex Garcia in the midfield with Luis Ferguson and Renato Sanchez, a midfield completely created by us with Akone, Sotil and Beltram. We haven't necessarily added any stars to the wings just yet, or up front, but I do think we've built a very strong lineup here with some great players too on the bench, and that leads us to a season preview of 6th place, 22 on odds. We're slowly working our way up. We know we can overperform that as well based on recent seasons, so I think the aim for season 3 is have some fun in the Champions League, have a few decent away trips. We're not really going to go anywhere, but in the league I want to try and qualify in the top 4 yet again to cement ourselves as a European team. Now, I said that we wanted some fun away trips and we wanted to just give a decent account for ourselves in the Champions League, but never did I think we'd actually have the chance to qualify for the knockout playoff rounds, but we did in a game against Juventus of all clubs at home. So we weren't necessarily going on any European tours, but Jorko managed to score this brilliant goal, and that meant we had qualified for the Champions League knockout rounds. And by the way, for those wondering, I just had to have a look as who was represented as Jorko in game. It's Jonathan Akone, so one of our key players. That isn't some randomer that's just started scoring goals. And we did get quite unlucky in the knockout rounds. We got drawn up against one of Europe's best sides in FC Barcelona. Now, we didn't really go into this with any major hopes, but we were very quickly crushed. In the 61st minute of the first leg, Firmin put his team 1-0 up, and only a couple minutes later, Noah Darvic managed to make it 2. We then lost the next leg 3-0, so we lost 5-0 on aggregate, but I think we can be pretty happy with ourselves for qualifying for those knockout rounds. But my main aim for this season was qualifying for the UCL yet again, and we have done it with a third place finish, 74 points, 10 losses, 5 draws. It's less points than last season, but I don't mind too much because we were playing Champions League football and we're only 10 points away from Juventus at the top of the league, which is still a pretty big gap to reach. But in recent seasons, loads of different clubs have won that title, so it's not necessarily like there's a monopoly of one team that we need to try and take over. We just need to have one decent year, and there's a pretty good chance we could walk away with the Scudetto to our name. We did do quite well though in the Italian Super Cup and had our first chance for silverware where we faced off against Torino in the final. And we got off to a great start because just after half time, Renato Sanchez scored a brilliant header, and with 94 minutes on the clock and us 1-0 up, we were so close in touching distance really of winning a trophy, but Torino had other ideas. Sanabria scoring from close range to make it 1-1, and unfortunately in extra time they came forward again. Latasa managed to find the back of the net, and it did mean we lost the Super Cup final and there'll be no trophies for us yet. But any Fiorentina fans watching, I think if you offered them Champions League football 2 years in a row, some decent finishes in the league as well, they wouldn't be too annoyed at that in 3 years at the club. We need to push on now though, and we know the players to build around, because Ferguson has been great, Sotil has been great yet again, Renato Sanchez proved to be a great signing at 7 million, now valued at 55 million, and he's really found his feet here in Fiorentina, maybe for the first time in his career. Beltran scored 19 goals, Ikone got 8, overall a very good season, and we're heading into our next transfer window with £46 million to spend. We've been upgrading the facilities in that time as well, so the club is on the up, but now we need to add some silverware to the cabinet. So we're going to spend the money, we're going to bring some talent in, and hopefully close that gap to the top of the Serie A table. And it was a pretty busy transfer window yet again in Season 4, but before I show you those transfers, the last time I'll ask you if you could smash that like button for me if you are enjoying the video. It really will help. But with that being said, I won't ask again. Let's go and see the transfers out and in. Christian Kouame was the first one. He headed to Al Khalij out in Saudi Arabia for a fee of 8.25 million. A pretty important squad player over the years, but only started 5 games last year, so he wanted out. Similar story for Alfred Duncan, the Ghanaian. He is now moved for 4.7 million. He's been at the club for many a year, but again, in recent times wasn't starting as much as he used to. Actually, he started 20 games. I don't know why he wanted out. He wanted more game time, but either way, off Alfred Duncan goes. Josip Recalo was also out the door. He's moved to Hoffenheim for 1.5 million, and they were all our sales. Coming in as a free agent was Fabian Rees, a German 28-year-old signing from Hertha Berlin, where he's been exceptional in the second tier and the first tier of Germany, so he's a great pickup on a free. Javi Galen is a capable backup left back as well. Baraji has now left the club due to old age. He's now 31 though, Galen, so hasn't got too many years in the tank, but will act as a nice deputy coming in from Atletico Madrid for a fee of absolutely nothing. We've picked him up on another free transfer. But the best free transfer of all was Lazar Smardzic, the Serbian 24-year-old international, comes in as one of our best midfielders from Udinese, where he has been for the last few years in Serie A, and doing a pretty good job. I think for us, he's going to be exceptional in the midfield. Speaking of midfielders, we spent a pretty decent sum on Matthias Brunoda, an Austrian international, 24 years of age, 12 million quid was the fee, signing from Austria Vienna, where he's been very good over the last few years, following a loan to Como in Italy. And our final signing is our new backup striker. Sebastian Pio Esposito is still out on loan, so we've bought in Matias Arezzo to compete with Beltran. The Uruguayan 23-year-old has signed for a fee of 17 million from Granada, where he's been exceptional in the second tier for them. Can he take the step up into Serie A? Only time will tell. But our team is looking really strong now, I think. It's pretty much the same defence and midfield that we're used to, and pretty much the same attack as well. But I just think the depth that we were adding onto that bench, all of these players could come in and do a very good job. Obviously not in the positions I've put them in, but those guys coming in are very big talents. There's plenty more on the bench that I haven't covered there, and I'm hoping that will mean we're now predicted at least top 4 in the season preview. We're predicted 5th. I think that's pretty decent, to be honest. 12-1 odds of winning the title. We've really got that down considering where we first started with this club. Those odds were much higher back in the day. We've got great facilities, a great stadium, the finances are looking good too. So now we head into season 4 with our new look team to see if they can just get over the line and hopefully win us the Serie A title. And despite what is definitely one of our best seasons in the league yet, finishing second with 85 points, it was nowhere near enough to win the title. It would have been enough in many years prior, but Inter absolutely flew out the blocks this season, got 96 points to win the title for the first time since 2023 for them, and yeah, it's just really unfortunate. Any other year, I think we could have won that trophy, but it's going to go to Inter, and unfortunately, we've only got 1 year left now to win the Scudetto. But this season, we had a chance of some real silverware, because we had made the Italian Cup final, where we were facing off against Napoli. And we were up against Napoli. Now at this point we still have not won a trophy here at Fiorentina, despite all of our success, but Matthias Arezzo tried to change that, scoring in the 7th minute. And only a few minutes later, it was that man again, starting ahead of Beltram in the final. He was in the centre of the box from this Ferguson assist to make it 2. Napoli though are still a very strong squad in this FM world. Osimhen still plays for them, and plenty of a great talent, and it was the Nigerian who managed to make it 2-1. But Napoli did not manage to get another goal. We managed to win 2-1 to deliver our first piece of silverware to the club in this rebuild, but That wasn't the only final we were in this year. Somehow, against all odds in the Champions League, we managed to knock out the likes of Arsenal and Chelsea and RB Salzburg to make a final against Manchester City. And I don't think there would have been a single fan of Fiorentina that would have expected as good of a start as we had, because with only 27 seconds on the clock, Samardzic scored an open goal. But of course, we're not just playing any team, we are playing one of the world's best sides in Manchester City, who have upgraded by adding Vinicius Jr. on the wing. He found Haaland to make it 1-1 in the 40th. And that led us all the way into extra time, where we had the chance to win the trophy, but Quinton Timber managed to put Man City 2-1 up. And with 5 minutes left of the game, they sealed the deal through Josko Gvardiol from a corner. Or at least that's what we thought, because with only 2 minutes left, Castrovilli played a ball into the area and Matthias Arezzo made it 3-2. But unfortunately, that was as far as it went. The game finished 3-2, a valiant effort to make the Champions League final. Fiorentina lost to Man City, but we could hold our heads high. We'd won the Italian Cup, we'd finished second in the league, and we managed to make a final against Man City in the UCL. Just to show you how good of a run it was, we did okay in the league phase, came up against Salzburg, beat them, went on a brilliant run in March where we beat every team we played, including a 2-leg victory over Chelsea. We then lost to Barcelona at the Nou Camp, but beat them 4-1 at our stadium. That then led to a semi-final against Arsenal, where a 1-0 home win was enough to help us get over the line when we drew 1-1 in the second leg. But then, yeah, a final against Man City, a crazy season for us. That second half of the season was fantastic. If we'd started just a little bit better in these first 3 games, we could potentially have put on a real title challenge. But as mentioned, Inter Milan were great this year, even though we were as well. But I think we can definitely hold our heads high as we go into our final season here at the club. And we're going to have to build around some of these top performers. Matej Kovar was fantastic this season, as was Lewis Ferguson. Lucas Beltran was getting the goals again, 27 this year. Ikone continues to be one of the club's best players, and plenty of other great performers too. 10 from Samardzic, 10 from Matthias Arezzo. We added extra goals and it really did help us in this 4th year. But now we go into season 5 with 52 million quid to spend. We've already done a great job of turning this team round, but now we need to just go one step further and win that Scudetto. And with the aim of winning Serie A, we had to be ruthless, let some players go, and bring in some more top talent this year. Heading out the door first was Jean-Nicolas Best, who has gone to Nottingham Forest for 1.1 million. Gaetano Castrovilli has also left the club. He's gone to sign for Salento for 3.6 mil. Alessandro Cesati has also moved on. He's joined Al Weda for £5 million in Saudi Arabia. And Javi Galen goes to the same club, age 32. We bought him in for a free, used him 27 times, and now sold him on for just under 7 million. We had some top talent coming in, like Brahim Diaz, valued at 70 million, one of our best players, and he signed for a grand total of absolutely nothing, having been let go from Real Madrid, where he was a key starter for 3 years for them. Lucas Piton was our new left-back option, a 26-year-old Italian signing from VDG out in Brazil, where he's been very good, and we've paid £9 million for him. For anyone that does end up continuing this save over on Patreon, you're going to have a great talent on your hands. Hernan Mendez, an 18-year-old Argentinian international, has been picked up from Racing Club. We then loaned him back there for the season, costing us 11 million. Gonçalo Inácio, the Portuguese 25-year-old defender, comes in as one of our best centre-backs for 25 mil from Sporting Club de Portugal. And then we've added an Italian jewel to our team. Simone Pafundi has signed from Udinese for a fee of 38.5 million, and I think that is a very good fee, particularly with the potential he's got. Even if he hasn't necessarily reached it just yet, I think he could do wonders for us. And I have actually changed tactic to get the best out of Pafundi and Diaz. We're a bit more attacking now with the better players we've got. We've gone for a 4-2-3-1 shape instead of the 4-3-3. We're going to have Kovar, Kayode, Van der Berg, Pavlovic and Parisi as our best back line, with Garcia, Sanchez, Diaz, Ikone, Samardzic and Beltran as the rest of our best. But Garcia won't be here this season. He's gone out on loan to Wolves because he didn't play as much last year as a starter. Tommy Doyle seemed to take most of his minutes, so I think realistically it's going to be him or Lewis Ferguson. But now we're ready to go for our final season. The Scudetto is the aim. Maybe another trophy on the way if we can. Maybe try and win that Champions League, but I don't think that's going to happen again. Either way though, we're going to go all the way for it. Our team is ready for Season 5. And it certainly was an interesting season. We saved all the drama for our final year, really. And we did have a chance of some silverware in the Italian Cup final, where Pavlovic found Samardzic and he managed to score to make it 1-0 against Napoli. We then added a second not too long afterwards, Pavlovic from the corner heading home to make it 2-0. Napoli did pull one back to make it 2-1 through Samuel Lino scoring this great shot from the area. But again, Napoli couldn't find a second in the final. We managed to win 2-1 and it was another Italian Cup to our name. The Italian Super Cup we lost in the final again, and the Champions League we didn't make the final this year. We actually bowed out in the quarter-final in a very valiant effort against Real Madrid, who then went on to win the competition. They only beat us 3-2 on aggregate, so it was not a bad go at all. But of course, we were here to win the Scudetto, and we went neck and neck this season to try and win the title, and we actually had to win the last game of the season to win the trophy. And with second place breathing right down our neck, we thankfully got off to a great start. Renato Sanchez finding Beltran, who's been scoring goals since season 1. And with 30 minutes played, Doyle played a great ball into the area. Pavlovic rose highest to win the header. It came out to Samardzic, who hit this brilliant shot from the edge of the area. Yes, it deflected, but it went in. We won 2-0, and that's all we needed. Because that was enough to beat Napoli to the title, known as Parthenon game, because I haven't got the name fixed on, but either way, it's Napoli. We beat them by 2 points, smashed them on goal difference, only lost 3 games all year. It was a very tight race between us, Napoli, and Inter Milan, but we have done it. Fiorentina have a Scudetto. We've got 2 Italian Cup titles to our name as well. We've been to Super Cup finals, we went to a Champions League final, and I think that was a very successful rebuild. Samardzic and Profundi were the difference makers this year, managing to score 39 goals between the two of them, with some great performers elsewhere too. We've managed to get a great reputation at the club, real good facilities as well, and if we now have a look at the club background, Jonathan Okone is now an icon of the club, and we're in the favoured personnel with a few familiar names. But there we go, that was Fiorentina rebuilt. We've taken them to the top of the Italian football pyramid. Let's see if they can actually win the Conference League this month.